All right, we're ready to roll. We are on, and we're loud tonight. So welcome, everyone, and everyone that's watching us virtually. So this is our second bargaining session with CCEA and Clay County District Schools. So we will get started with, we're going to go over just a little review of the last session. We're going to bring a couple counter proposals with us this evening to give to CCEA, and then we'll discuss those, and hopefully we'll have a successful night. I'm going to let Leonard open up with a little bit.
Thank you. I first want to go over what I believe we have I think a fundamental disagreement on how teacher salary increase allocation law, House Bill 641, operates. We both agree it's not a fair law. We both agree it treats new teachers much better than veteran teachers. I think both management and all teachers don't understand how we got to this point, but we are at a point where we believe the law tells us how we have to spend two different groups of funds. And when I say two different groups of funds, I'm just going to use terminology for purposes of just talking. There's an overall amount given to the district, which is $6,000,042. You take out the charter schools allotment and you get a new amount. You take out what I call tax tag and title, all the benefits, and you come up with an 80% allocation minimum salary and then a 20% allocation. Our belief is the law is crystal clear. The amount given to Clay County is that we have to spend on the TSA, the teacher allocation funds, and the 80% is $4,268,928. So for those $4,268,000, we believe the law says you have to spend that money to get the minimum base salary, I'll just read it, for full-time classroom teachers, as defined by 1012-01-2A, plus certified pre-K teachers funded in the FEFP, to at least $47,500. Now, there wasn't enough money in the district to get to that. So the law says, or to the maximum amount achievable based on the allocation as given in the act. There's another appropriations law that went along with this that spelled out how you spend this money, and it's basically 80% of it is spent to drive up the minimum base salary as high as you can get and as close as you can get to $47,500. If you stop short of that, you have not spent your 80% on the goal of the law, which was to bring it up to $47,500 of the actual literal words of the law. Our amount, after spending the allotment, after spending all the benefits taking out, our amount is $44,980. That is the minimum amount that the new teacher in Clay County, and I say teacher, it's classroom teacher. There are several definitions in the statutes of classroom teachers and certified pre-K teachers that we were given funds to get that amount up to that level. We understand that creates compression. Compression is not good for us. It's not great for hiring. It's not great for morale. It's not great for a lot of things. And we understand this is not the wisest way to spend this money. However, it looks and acts and is we believe, the only way to spend that 80% amount of funds. Now, I know last time it was mentioned that Union County did it differently. I think recently the Department of Education let Union County know in writing that you cannot be creative inside of the 80% group. You have to get the minimum base salary as high as you can for the classroom teacher with that funds. If you're below 47.5, you have to drive it up as high as you can. If we don't, the board has serious ramifications. There's punishments for the superintendent and the board to knowingly violate a financial law. And again, all laws are regulated and governed by different agencies. There's FRS, there's Department of Education, and there's ethics. There's all kinds of statutes that regulates boards that when a law is passed, they have to follow it. The only way they can't follow it if someone declares it unconstitutional. And nobody has yet even challenged this law. So we have to follow it. The 20%, as we discussed the last time, is there's an amount and it's fair game as to how we spend that 20%. And people do different things with that 20%. With the law being the law, and we will stipulate it is not a fair law, we will stipulate it's a difficult law for veteran teachers. It's just a difficult law to apply. And we're in a pandemic and we have some financial issues. Last time it was mentioned that there was an over budgeting of salaries of $4 million. So we have the Director of Finance today to discuss with you that that statement is actually wrong, and there's several other impacts on this school board's budget that I think everyone needs to be aware of, why the district does not have extra money to try to fix compression and to try to fix some of the obvious problems that are in the law. So we'll go through some of those budgetary issues and assumptions that were mentioned earlier.
Hi, I'm Sonia Finley. I'm the Director of Finance, and I'm here today in Susan Legutko's place. She has prepared these notes, and I'm just basically speaking to what she's prepared. First of all, she wanted me to discuss the prior fiscal year, the 2019-2020 fiscal year, and how actually we had, and you've got the sheet there, the table, showing that we had a deficit. We had budgeted $247.3 million in salaries and benefits, but we actually spent for the year $250.5 million. So we had a deficit of $3.1 million. So it was stated at the previous meeting on Monday, October 5th, that the district over budgeted salaries for the 1920 school year by over $4 million. But that's an incorrect statement, and you can see the comparison there that, you know, we actually under budgeted and we ended up having a $3.1 million deficit. Then Susan instructed me, secondly, to speak on the estimated funding loss for the current 2020-21.
Can I back up just a minute and ask you a question? Are these all the salaries for the entire district?
No, these are the general fund salaries. These do not include the special revenue fund, because for the special revenue fund, that's like the contracted federal programs like Title I. So, you know, so the money for Title I comes in from the federal government to cover the Title I
Are
salaries.
these numbers just for the CCEA bargaining unit?
No, they're for
Okay.
all, you know, all
So-
salaries in the general fund.
So the administrators are in there. So when we're looking at the numbers that Dr. Legutko provided to the state in both the 2019-2020 budget and then the AFR, that's not what that says.
Well, I've got the budget right here. It was adopted. You can go back to the board meeting on September 5th, 2019, and you can see that that ties to the budget that was adopted on September 5th, 2019.
Right, and I printed that out from the board website. I don't, incorrect numbers, I'm not sure where your numbers are coming from. I don't see any backup documentation for those. So, I mean, I know you are sent here by Dr. Legetko. I wish she was here to answer the questions. But, yeah, I don't agree that these numbers are accurately representing what you represented to the state.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say to that, because I disagree with that statement, but anyway. Okay, we'll move on to the current fiscal year, the 2020-21 fiscal year. The initial budget presented at the September 3rd, 2020 school board meeting. Please keep in mind that that was based on projections using enrollment figures from January 2020, estimated enrollment numbers from January 2020, and that was before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so Susan's been preparing calculations to try to determine our potential losses to revenue now that after the pandemic, things have changed so much, and those projections from January 2020 have all changed. First, virtual school, we've got increased enrollment in virtual school. So she's calculated a potential loss there of $8.1 million. Transportation funding, and this is a potential loss, after, we've got this budget adopted on September 3rd,
Do we have
2020.
a copy of this for us to look at? What
What,
you're
it-
reading from now?
Oh, it's just my notes. I mean,
So there's nothing on, we don't have any paper that shows us what you're talking about as far as loss in funding?
yeah, Susan, that's Susan's calculations.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's basically because, you're aware that we're funded at a less, the funding from virtual school is entirely different than the funding for brick and mortar school, the way we're funded. And so that's a loss of $8.1 million because of the increased enrollment there. Transportation funding, because the bus riders have decreased, there's a potential loss there of $3.1 million. The increased enrollment in homeschool, she's calculating a potential loss of $2.3 million because of the additional children that are now being homeschooled, and we won't get funding for those children. VPK enrollment their enrollment has decreased. She's calculating a potential loss of $750,000 there. And then we're getting into the taxes because of the economic, distress that a lot of folks are under. She's calculating a potential loss in property tax revenue of $2.6 million, and for the local capital improvement fund tax of $385,000, and for the additional millage for safety and security tax, a potential loss of $280,000. So all of these calculate up to, she's looking at, which this hasn't come to fruition yet, but she's looking at $17.5 million potential loss. After we've adopted this budget on September 3rd, 2020, this could potentially happen to us. And also, she wants you to keep in mind that the district's overall revenues, we've been looking at the first quarter of this fiscal year as compared to prior fiscal years and what we've seen, prior historically, and we're down like 3%. See, we're down on interest revenue, interest earned, on our accounts. We're down on rental revenue. We're down on daycare funding. So the other revenues are down as well. And then another factor to consider is that we are in the midst of a hurricane season that is projected to be one of the worst in recorded history. And of course, that fiscal impact cannot be estimated, but we know that, we need reserve funds just in case we were to get hit. And then still another consideration is the state tourist dollars are down billions, which equates to less money in the state coffers to meet its budgeted commitments. which will necessitate a budget adjustment before the end of the fiscal year.
Have we received any notification from the DOE or the legislature or the governor that we should be looking for these cuts, or is this just conjecture at this point?
It's, well, we do know for a fact how many students we have in virtual. We know that homeschool it's all based on FTE since we get funded based on FTE, and we know what our FTE numbers are potentially.
Right, and you hire based on FTE as well, so if those students aren't here, then the teacher wouldn't be either. There are less expenses.
No, that's really off statement. That one FT is 7,750 unweighted. Yeah,
No,
we
you haven't
we
let any teachers go, but there are positions that are available that have not been filled, that aren't going to be filled. You have fewer numbers of teachers needed to teach, fewer numbers of students.
Okay, we have serious financial issues, and every district in Florida has financial problems with the pandemic. Every city, county, whether you believe that or not, it doesn't. I guess if you don't believe it, that's fine. We're just trying to give you objective criteria of there are financial stresses on the school board's budget, on most school board budgets everywhere I've been. I don't know anyone who thinks these are great times. We're only giving you this information to put your offer in context, that we can't afford. First of all, we can't comply with your offer because it doesn't get to the true minimum maximum base salary that we have to do. So that's the first reason. The second reason is we just cannot afford it, and never will be able to this year. That's a confident statement. We have a counter to propose with using the TSA money as we believe it should be used. Ready?
Thank you, Sonia.
Does the salary schedule that you have put here on the last page, does that allow teachers coming in with those years of experience to leapfrog our current teachers with the same number of years of experience?
To the best of our ability, when we calculated it, it should not, counting their increase they'll be getting now, plus they have the performance that they had last year. So what that does is it takes the current salary schedule and increases it by the 1.28%. So with current teachers getting it, the ones that we did spot checks and no one was, the only ones that possible, and there was maybe 5 teachers on the original salary schedule years, I believe it was 16, 17, Mr. Schreiber, are compressed on the original salary schedule. We uncompressed it. And so what we did on the 16, 17, if you look, we kind of split the difference between that and the 18 for the 17th year.
So we do know that on the current salary schedule, there are levels where new hires are being brought in at more than the current employees make. So just increasing the entire thing by 1.28%, I don't think it's going to solve that problem, but we need some time to dig through this. Obviously, we think that the district does have funds to supplement. We think that this is not the only way to interpret it. And yes, I'm aware of union, but I also know that we have a legal opinion that says that the Commissioner of Education does not have the right to reject a properly ratified agreement. So basically, what we're being told at this point is there's one way to do this, so it's not negotiable, and we're not giving you anything else to make it any better.
No,
So
that's
that's-
incorrect. Through it so you understand it.
Leonard, I understand it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say, the district is putting funds into this proposal because we had to get all of the guidance counselors, media specialists, all the teachers, instructional personnel in categories B, C, and D in the statutes, we had to get them up to the minimum. Technically, the law does not say to do that. And we had 10, I think, BPK teachers who were not funded by the FEFP that we also had to bring up. So we put, I believe, about $370,000 into this. And also, I want to mention there was also $2 million spent on the health insurance increase in July. So there's been some money spent. We understand the FEA's position on the law. However, the law is, we're just following it as read, that I read to you, as written. And I don't know of any other way to tell a district to ignore it. I think I could not, as a lawyer, it'd be malpractice, but we'll let you have some time. We do have a counter on your association rights before we caucus. Yeah, and in our proposal too, there's several, in the 20%, we did use all of that percentage to get it, every penny of it to the veteran teachers. And again, some folks are trying to put differences into the 80%, or some folks are trying to pay the guidance counselors and others out of that money. We do again, this is not a great idea of pay, just like best and brightest, we did not believe was best or brightest. It just picked winners, and it wasn't. It seemed a little bit random. But we truly are in a pandemic. We do have loss of FTE. We do have financial issues, and our budget. We think this is what we can do. But do you have the?
Well, we will consider that, but I don't believe any real financial issues have been realized at this point. We are predicting and guessing at what might happen. We're predicting some catastrophic hurricane with 2 weeks left in hurricane season.
It's funny you mention that, because we said it a couple of weeks ago in Pensacola, and they had $8 million that they have.
So far, Leonard, you've interrupted me about 3 times. I've tried to let you speak to the end of your sentences.
And
I believe that the district is misrepresenting the amount of money available. I do believe that there could be some financial implications, but I don't think they are as dire as the predictions that we are hearing. And I do believe that we have more flexibility than you are stating. We'll take a look at your proposal, see if there's anything in it that we can live with. But I don't believe that this is the district or the board or anyone doing the right thing. Somebody's got to be the first person to stand up to this bully, and it could be us.
Okay, and who is the bully? The legislature?
The governor, the commissioner of education, the legislature did not pass this the way that you're reading it.
Okay, so it is the law that the legislature passed. Governor signed it. You're currently sued them on safe schools and lost. And now we don't have a lawsuit on this law. So you agree we have to follow it. Your belief is different than the law reads. I respect that. But so far we have to follow how it's written. And then our FTE is our FTE. If you think it's made up, I can't change your mind on that. But if you have a beef with the legislature, I think everyone does. We don't stipulate. We will stipulate there's a problem with how this money was allocated, for lack of better words. All right, we have a counter on your association and teacher rights.
Did you make any change to this besides just striking the shall? That it?
Yes, that's the only change.
Okay. We'll talk about it. Yeah, clapboard, that's good. Okay, so the easy part is Article 4, association rights. We're ready to TA that tonight. There you go, a third of the way anyway. As I'm sure you know, we have serious concerns about the proposal for salary. We didn't find a place on this proposal where you included any general fund money. I know, Leonard, you said it was like 375,000 or something, but I don't see that reflected. I'm not sure the number is there, maybe the idea, but the number is not there.
No, the number was not in there. If you would like, we could create another one. It's where, though, it does state that the district will use their funds to, under D, Clay County District
Right.
proposes to fund the salary increases of all of the instructional personnel B through D and the non-FEFP funded certified pre-kindergarten teachers under 47.5 to match the minimum base salary of 44,980.
Right, right. I think one of the questions that we have, and we were very careful in our proposal to give you the exact number of teachers that were being affected by each, the exact number of raise that each person would get. We'd really like to see a breakdown of what people are going to get. We have some serious concerns with the salary schedule. And Brenda, you stated that you thought maybe 5 or 6 teachers were going to be leapfrogged. And we went back through quickly through our numbers, and this is back of the envelope math, so it's rough. But starting at year 20, anyone that comes into Clay County from somewhere else with that amount of teaching experience will leapfrog teachers who have spent their entire careers in Clay County. So year 20, your placement schedule is 49,627, and our current 20-year teachers that have only taught in Clay County are at 49,263, matter of a few $100s. It gets greater and greater as we go down to about 2,300 at the end. People who have 28 plus years in this county are only making $55,340.
Is that including is that their current salary?
Yes.
Or is that
No, that's including the 1.28.
No, but is that where they're sitting on their salary today with their past performance pay, someone who's been in the district for 20 years?
It is where they will sit if they accept the offer that you have given of the 1.28% raise.
Okay. Mr. Shriver and I'd be happy to do analysis if you could give us some names of people who might be leapfrogged.
It's anybody who's over 20 years that has worked in the county for their entire career. So no one that brought in experience, only the folks who have all Clay County experience.
So all Clay County.
And we're looking at, like, just for an example, at 20 years, there's 91 teachers. At 21 years, there's 42. There are a lot more than just 5 or 6 affected.
Right. Because the difficulty is now, once performance pay came in, everyone has their own salary schedule.
Right, but we should not be bringing in new teachers. I mean,
Oh, I agree.
we shouldn't be leapfrogging our longstanding loyal teachers.
And the district agrees with that.
So we need more time than we have tonight and more resources than we have tonight to give you any kind of a meaningful counter. So we're not going to have anything for you on this tonight. We'll need to reschedule for another time. I've got a pretty busy few weeks ahead. I'm available after the 15th of November, so it'll be a little while.
We had scheduled November 4th, but Ms. Kidwell today said that Betsy was not available. We'd like to try to schedule as soon as possible because we have to submit this plan to the state by December. And the state will not release funds, which means teachers are not getting anything, no matter what is agreed upon, until we submit to the state. So if we could do something before Thanksgiving, before the 15th, we'll work with Leonard and his schedule. I can have these figures for you by the beginning of next week. And so the sooner the better, Even if we have to, Mr. Dietzen, would it be possible if you can't travel to do a Google? So we could even arrange that. We would just like to try to settle as quickly as possible. I'm sure like y'all want to, so that all of the bargaining unit gets advantage of the money.
Right. If we are not able to come to an agreement by December 1st and we come to an agreement at a later point, the funds would still be released retroactive to the beginning of the school year, because it's,
Well, that's true.
okay.
That's true. They
So
would-
we're not going to lose anything.
No, but they
if we
just don't have the
settle by
advantage of it
December
now.
1st.
So if I could clarify, we will do some research, Mr. Shriver, our department will do some research on just the Clay County teachers who've been here 20-plus years.
Correct.
Okay. And what was the other? Was that it? Oh, you want
We
the
want the-
numbers of teachers affected?
Right, the numbers of teachers affected and what their increases will be.
Well, that would all be individual, because it's a 1.25%. So I can't give you an amount for every single teacher.
It's their salary minus their advanced degree times that amount. So everyone will be different.
Right, I understand that. We're talking about, we've got teachers that are making $8,000, going to get an $8,000 raise, and teachers that are going to get $600 raise. So, we kind of want to have an idea of where folks are going to be. And you can do it in bands if you
I
want
could
to.
give you a range of what the 1.25 would be.
I don't want the 1.25, I can figure that out.
Or the
What I
1.28.
What I want is the teachers that are under that 44,980, what are their raises going to be?
Right. So a percentage from the 38,000 up to the 44,980.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think so. Hang on just 1 second, please. We got it all. Thank you.
Thank you.